I found this article titled Families Struggle to Eat in Republican-Led States That Denied Federal Aid. These are things that I know, right? Because we have to remember that right here, we have in Texas, we have not allowed many Texans to live. Our Republican legislature has caused the deaths of thousands of Texans by not accepting the federal Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Let me explain a little bit about this before I get into the article. Because these are the people poor Texans inclusive have voted for, or their non-vote have allowed them to win. These are killers. These are assassins. If you cause the death of somebody else, at minimum, it is manslaughter. That is what our Texas legislature has done in Texas continually. The Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which would give virtually every Texan that is currently uninsured, would have given them access to health care. Your Republican representatives, your Republican senators, state senators said no, even though every Texan who pays taxes are funding the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. So Texas is giving away money because of ideological reason. Then it keeps its people dumb in not understanding that they're voting for their own debts. They're voting for their own demise. Is that a hyperbole? No, it's not. It is the actual truth. If you believe in life, if you believe in the sanctity of life, you'd have accepted this. When the Medicaid expansion occurred after Obamacare was passed, by the way, people love Obamacare now. It needs a lot of work, but people love it. When that was passed, the first 3 years, every state in the United States who accepted the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act got health care for the poor and those who don't have access to health care because they fall in that middle ground. They offered it to those states, every state in this nation for free. And after 3 years, the states were only responsible to pay 10% of that health care cost. 10% to ensure that your entire state has health care. California accepted it. Nobody goes missing healthcare in California. New York accepted it. Nobody misses it out. Even Kentucky accepted it. One of the reddest states, of course, even as Kentucky is a red state, it is governed by a Democrat, both Bashir and his father. His father is the one who accepted the Medicaid expansion to the Obamacare. What did they call it? They call it Kinect. I think it was called Kinect is what they called it. And by calling it Kinect, they took the Obama name off of it. And the people in Kentucky loved it. It didn't have the Obama name on, but it was Obamacare. But they loved it. It helped people. It saved people. It saved lives. So there's one thing that we always see. Republican politicians put ideology over life. They put ideology over your safety. They put ideology, and an ideology that doesn't work. After all, the 10 poorest state in this country, except for New Mexico, are red states. Remember that. If these policies work so well, why are the poorest states the red states? The ones that don't want to collect taxes to have a more vibrant economy, etc., etc., etc. But I digress. Anyway, we go back to this article now. This just came out. Families struggle to eat in Republican-led states that denied federal aid. Crystal Ripollio had tears in her eyes as she walked to the produce line at the Good News Outreach Food Bank in Tallahassee, a red state that's in Florida. It was the bags of ripe peaches that did her in. We don't have anything in our fridge, Ripollio said. Ripollio and her 8-year-old daughter, Isabella, walked away with paper bags filled with those peaches, other produce, bread, and canned goods, grateful for the help she said they desperately need. Millions of American children are going without extra food this summer after 13 states declined to participate in a federal program that helps families in need by groceries. 37 states, 4 U.S. territories, and 5 Native American tribes are benefiting from the program, according to the Department of Agriculture. Qualifying families with children who rely on school meals to get enough to eat are getting an extra $120 per child this summer to help feed kids. We are the party of life. We are the party that care, but we say no to help the people who need it the most. Ripollio, who has 2 school-age daughters, could have received an extra $240 deposit directly onto an electronic benefit transfer or EBT card, but Republican-led Florida isn't taking part. She said she has been helping Isabella deal with some challenging medical issues lately and hasn't been able to work. The extra money would have really helped by allowing her to buy more basic, such as bread, milk, and cereal, Ripollio said. Are you kidding? I've been holding on to $17 for 3 months, she said, referring to her dwindling finances. The federal program, known as Summer EBT on SS Sunbucks, gives money to qualifying families who can then use it to shop at grocery stores and farmers market. The initiative is designed to help feed children who receive free or reduced price meals at school, but who often go hungry during the summer. According to an analysis by the advocacy group Food Research and Action Center, for every 100 children who received a free or reduced price meal during the 2021 to 2022 school year, only 11 got summer lunch July 2022. In other words, there's these kids who depend on going to school to have a breakfast, to have a lunch. And those in the summer when there's no school, 11 of them get fed. 90 or so go without. Leila Santiago, a single mom from Jacksonville, said she's been piling her 5 kids, all between the ages of 2 months and 10 years, into an Uber to get to local food pantries this summer because she lacks consistent access to transportation. I know there are other mothers like me that don't have transportation that may need the food but just can't get to it, Santiago said. The states that declined to participate in the program cited reasons such as problems with aging state computer systems, philosophical opposition to welfare programs, and a belief that existing free meal programs are sufficient. All 13 are led by Republican governors. Here is the deal, folks. Think about this. One of the excuses they use is aging computers. These are the same states that refuse to collect taxes from major corporations while they have aging computers that would make life better for all citizens of the state, right? They also have ideological reasons that they don't like welfare programs. So they don't like welfare programs, so instead they prefer their citizens to starve. They prefer their citizens to go without health care, even though those citizens that are generally poor do participate in the economy, do help out. Their spending alone makes that economy viable. But they don't like those programs, right? They don't understand that when they allow a corporation to cut down trees in Alabama, cut down trees in Louisiana, that is a welfare system for the corporations because they didn't plant those damn trees. They didn't put the oil in the ground. They give them permits to drill, take the oil out, profit from the oil that should belong to us all. They don't call that welfare. You see, it's all how you define things. Right? The person who sit at their pool and makes money in the stock market, they don't call that welfare. That even though it is the stock, the dividends that they receive is the work of other people making money. They said, oh, they invested their money. Well, these people invested their life. These people invested their labor. And these folks are sitting at their pool, sipping coffee and having a donut, making free money. I am just saying what is called how we define things is we decide how to define it to make some people look lowly, to make some people look dependent, while we defend other things and make people look illustrious, like they've achieved something, right? So somebody who has some extra dollars and put it in a stock and makes a lot of money off of the work of others, including the work of poor people, they're not freeloaders. But that person who is working but needs a helping hand to feed their kids is a freeloader, even though the work that they do is at a discount so that that stockholder can pay a dividend. We have to modify our thinking process, people. We have to understand that the reason they call in the stock capital gains is taxed at 25% or so, while your income is taxed at up to 38%, is because of how they define things. They define capital gains as something other than income, so that they can have a reason not to tax it like they tax the everyday person. Understand the psychology of theft. Understand the psychology of legal theft. Under the terms of the summer EBT program, that program that I was talking to you about, the federal government covers the cost of benefits for the family. All the costs covered by the federal government. The only cost to the state is a 50-50 cost to administer the program. But guess what? Many of these states already have the computer systems and everything to administer this. So it really costs them nothing. So that 50% that they claim to cost is free money coming from the government to even help them further. But they don't tell you that. An estimated 2 million Florida children could have benefited from more than $258 million in aid this summer if state officials hadn't turned it down nationwide. Roughly 21 million kids are taking advantage of this program. Ask whether the state would participate next summer. A spokesperson for Governor Ron DeSantis directed inquiries to the Florida Department of Children and Families, which did not respond. Of course, he redirected it because he didn't want to have to say, my ideology say, no, I will let those 2 million Floridians fail. I will make those 2 million Floridians die from hunger. A spokesperson for the DCF previously told Orlando Sentinel that the state's current programs are sufficient, even though, as you saw, that woman had to take an Uber to drive to a food bank to get food, which people do all the time. I live in Kingwood, Texas, and we have churches here that don't have enough food to give to all the people in the surrounding areas that are going hungry in the richest country in the world. Yet Republicans claim they are the party of life, the sanctity of life they talk about. We anticipate that our state's full approach to serving children will continue to be successful this year without any additional federal programs that inherently always come with some federal strings attached, spokesperson Mallory McManus said. Really now? So why are all those Floridians dealing with all the issues they have, not only with home insurance, but all these other issues that they're dealing with, including hunger? You can talk about it, you can lie about it, but those people are still suffering. Yet you call yourself moral? Moral? That is evil. What you're doing to kids in Florida is evil. What the Texas legislature is doing to our citizens in Texas are evil. There is no two ways about it. It's the incarnate evil. And we take it because most people don't know. Well, you know what, folks? Share this message. I'm going to be cutting this out in a small blog. Share it. Let people know what the Texas legislature is doing. Let them know what the Florida legislature is doing. Let them know the evil that causes the death of their citizens. And this isn't hyperbole, people. This is not hyperbole. I have spoken to people. I've gotten emails. People are suffering in silence. And it's not Biden that's causing their suffering. It's not Kamala Harris that's causing their suffering. It is policy, evil policy based on a failed ideology. Service providers have applauded the work of state administrators' summer meal program that operates out of schools, public libraries, and community centers. But such programs only reach a fraction of the children who are eligible. There's a huge gap that we're not meeting, said Paco Velez, the president of the food bank feed in South Florida. The easiest way to meet the gap is to fill the EBT cards with dollars. A recent report by United Way found that nearly half of Florida families are struggling to make ends meet. Half of Florida families are struggling. That has nothing to do with Biden. That has everything to do with policy. Food bank you know what Biden policy showed is infusing money into our economic system because the private sector has failed to do so, took over, I don't remember how many million of kids out of poverty. And as soon as Republicans took over the legislature in Washington, they cut that program that Biden instituted, and immediately 3 point something million more kids immediately re-entered poverty. Policy works, and people don't abuse policies as they would have you believe. Policy works. A recent report by the United Way found that nearly half of Florida families are struggling to make ends meet. Food banks operators say that although demand has stabilized since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, the need still exceeds pre-pandemic levels as families grapple with inflation. And again, when people tell you inflation is a policy, something that was caused by Biden policy, let me refer you to Dr. Richard Wolff. Our inflation was caused by corporate greed. 0 by shortages, 100% by corporate greed. Forget about the supply chain problems that we talked about, because there were many things that weren't privy to the supply chain problem that were inflated in cost because the people with price and power were corporations. Don't be fooled. You have to stop being lied to. And you have to think yourself. It's a fraud. Our economic system is a bona fide fraud for the few. In the meantime, Santiago said she's trying to take her kids to a summer meal program at the local library when she can and stretch what she has left in the pantry each month. I have to try to find a way with my kids, Santiago said. I'm trying my best, but it's still not enough. And I don't like to just talk about problems. I like to talk about solutions. So every candidate that's running in every state election, every candidate that's running in any federal election, meaning state senator, state representative, senator, congressperson, ask them if they're going to support these different lists of programs that assist and help people. And for those who are going to say, you create a welfare state, that is false. We have proven that basic income programs work. People don't try to live on the dole. If you think people try to live on the dole, get outside and look at the bus stop, at every bus stop here in the ghettos, the barrios, and everywhere in Houston. They're filled with people going to work, even as they get paid a substandard salary because the corporations take most. Most people want to work. What Republican politicians have done is they've taken as an example the loafers. And the few loafers that they take them as examples and they project that onto the working class. Most Americans are hard workers. America works more than any other country workers in America do. And we need to take that into account. Vote if people are going to create policies that support America.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.